Welcome to my tiny house office. Today I'm going to show you around and explain how I built it and give you a little bit of advice on how to build your own. So I built this at the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic because I've always really loved tiny houses, and I wanted to make something that I could use as an office and kind of just a place to hang out, and so it doubles as a he shed too. I'm obviously not the only person that's had this idea, but I've read a report that during the pandemic, with everyone working from home, lots of people have done the same thing. So I'd like to share my space with you, maybe give you some ideas for how you can do this yourself. Also, I hope you'll like and subscribe to the channel, because what I'm working on right now is building a similar kind of tiny house down at a property I own with my brother in southern Ohio. I'm working on building it out of reclaimed and salvaged materials as much as possible, and so I think it's going to be a lot of fun, so I hope you'll join me for that journey. So in terms of building out this place, I actually got most of the materials from Reckworth Lumber, which is kind of a Dayton staple, and it's actually the place that the Wright brothers used to build their first airplane. So it was really cool to be able to use that as my source of lumber instead of a big box store. So another couple of things that you see here are the window and the door, and now I actually was able to take those from a rental property that I own. They were just sitting down in the basement, not doing anything, and so I was able to repurpose them. And my advice would be, when you're doing your own tiny home office or whatever you're kind of working on, is that you take and repurpose and salvage as many materials as you can and reuse those on your own. Sometimes it might be a little bit difficult to work with something that's not as new as something that's a little bit older, but it's usually worth it in savings and the final product. So in terms of construction, it's actually pretty simple. What I did was we started with a foundation of 2x10s, then we have some subflooring, then we built the framing out, and then we put the roof on. House goes from about 7 foot in the back to 8 foot in the front, and it's just got a slanted roof with asphalt shingles. On the outside are some cedar siding that I got from Reckworth Lumber again. And for the flooring, I was really excited. I was able to use some old ash trees that we had harvested over a decade ago. My grandpa and I had cut down this ash tree because of the emerald ash borer, and we basically were having it just sit in a greenhouse for about 10 years when I remembered that I could use that for flooring. I kept it pretty simple. I didn't really plane it down or sand it or anything because I was going for kind of a rustic look, and I liked the way that it turned out a lot. All in all, for materials, I spent about $1,700 on this place. All right, so let's talk about power. I was looking for a simple solution, and so what I did was I just ran an extension cord out to the tiny house. I put an outlet, on each of the walls in here, and then I ran power to a light, and there is a light switch to, turn it on and off, and that's basically it for electric. I don't need very much, and all I've got really out here are my record player, my electric guitar, and my computer, and so it's more than enough power. And one of the future projects actually that I'm working on too is adding some solar power to this, and so that's going to be something that I'm hoping to do and get completed here shortly. All right, so it's November and winter is coming, and so I need to stay warm out here, and one of the things that's really helped me do that is this Mr. Heater that I got. Thankfully my buddy Mike was able to help me install it. I didn't know all of the gas piping and everything that went along with installing this particular thing, but it just hooks up to a propane tank and it heats this place really well, so I'm actually stayed pretty toasty out here. So in terms of advice, what I would recommend is start with researching tiny houses first, and so there are a lot of great builds that people have done on YouTube. You can Google blogs and articles and find a lot of stuff out there. Instagram has a whole lot of tiny house builds, and you can use those to generate ideas for your own build and make it look like whatever it is that you actually want it to look like. So this here is actually a picture of what I initially drew up as my plan, so you can see that it evolved quite a bit over time, and it isn't as involved as what I was initially planning on doing, but I think it works well for what I need it to do, and I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. So my second piece of advice, I guess, would be to just start building. Like I said earlier, I had been thinking about doing this for about 10 years, and I was inspired by a friend of mine who's actually building a cabin of his own, and he's got his own YouTube channel. I definitely recommend checking it out, A Cabin in 50 Acres. And you know, he's been doing this for a long time, and I saw what he was doing and I got inspired, and so I decided I was going to do it on my own. Then the pandemic hit, and I decided I had some extra time because I was put on temporary emergency leave. All in all, it took me about a week to get this project done from beginning to end. So I was kind of shocked that was all it took, especially since I'd been waiting for about a year to try to do it. I mostly built this by myself, but I had my wife help me out, especially with things like putting up the walls and getting those installed, or also getting, you know, the siding put on. And I guess that would be my third piece of advice, is to take as much help as you can get. So help can come from all kinds of places, whether it's YouTube for figuring out how to do certain things, or family and friends who have a little bit more knowledge and experience than you do. So, is the place perfect? Not by any means, but it suits my needs. It's been great throughout the pandemic. Now that I have a heater, I'm looking forward to being able to still continue to work out here through the winter. And it's been a great place for me to just relax and you know, just hang back and enjoy things. So I really, you know, would recommend, if you're thinking about doing one of these tiny house office builds, then just go for it and start, you know, working on it as soon as you can. All right, so that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed checking out my tiny house office, and if you did, please like and subscribe and hit notify so that you hear about future videos. And I am going to be doing some future videos about basically taking this build and doing it out of repurposed materials on a property that I own down in southern Ohio with my brother. So I'm really looking forward to that. I want to show you the entire process from beginning to end of collecting the materials, figuring out the site, putting down the foundation, putting the house up, everything that's involved. I hope you'll tune in and watch that, and that you'll enjoy some of those videos as well. So let me know what you like, what you didn't like, and what you'd like to see more of. And thanks for visiting my neck of the woods. Take care, everybody.